For years, they were the most guarded secrets in the American legal system. Thousands of pages of depositions, flight logs, and FBI interview notes, locked away in a vault of non-disclosure agreements and judicial seals. They were whispered about as the list, a phantom document that many believed would never see the light of day. But as of 2026, the silence has finally broken. The Epstein files are no longer a myth, they are a 300-gigabyte reality. However, what these documents reveal isn't just a collection of names. It's a blueprint of how power operates in the shadows. It's a look at how a system designed to protect the vulnerable was instead used to shield the influential. As the final pages of these archives are uploaded and analyzed, we are left with a sobering realization. The Epstein files aren't just about one man, and they aren't just about the people who visited his private island. They are a mirror held up to our institutions. The real scandal isn't just who was on the plane, it's that the plane was allowed to fly for decades after the authorities knew exactly what was happening on board. These files represent a hard-fought victory for transparency, but they also serve as a warning. They remind us that justice is not a self-executing mechanism. It requires constant public pressure to ensure that influence never becomes a substitute for innocence. The names in these documents will be debated for years, but the stories of the survivors, many of whom fought for a decade just to get these files unsealed, are what truly matter. They prove that no matter how much money or power is used to bury the truth has a way of rising to the surface. We often focus on the famous names, but the Epstein didn't act alone. He ran his operations like a dark corporation. Newly unsealed documents from the 2025-2026 Department of Justice releases shed light on the roles of his domestic staff and personal assistants. These weren't just maids or drivers. Records show a meticulous system of recruitment and gatekeeping. Staff were instructed to keep no questions asked logs, managing a revolving door of visitors while enforcing strict NDAs. One deposition from a former House employee describes being tasked with fanning $100 bills on a table near Epstein's bed, a constant supply of cash used to pay off young women and keep the machine lubricated. The files also detailed the Russian teacher incident, a 2005 message where an associate offered Epstein a teacher who was just 16 years old. It shows that Epstein's network was global, spanning from Palm Beach to Paris and beyond, using legitimate-looking professional services as a front for exploitation. One of the most unsettling revelations in the expanded files is how Epstein used intellectual prestige as a shield. He wasn't just hanging out with politicians, he was funding some of the world's most brilliant minds. Names like Noam Chomsky, Marvin Minsky, and George Church appear in the records. Why would a convicted sex offender be hosting dinners for MIT professors and Nobel laureates? The documents suggest Epstein was obsessed with transhumanism and eugenics. He wanted to be seen as a science philanthropist, using high-level academic meetings to legitimize his social standing. For these experts, Epstein was a checkbook. But for Epstein, these scientists were social capital. By surrounding himself with geniuses, he created a veneer of sophistication that made it harder for outsiders to believe the dark rumors. The files include emails where prominent thinkers apologized for missing his birthday or discussed future funding, a paper trail of how easily morality can be traded for research grants. The 2026 Epstein Files Transparency Act finally gave us a look at what the FBI knew and when they knew it. We now know that as early as 2006, federal agents were prepared to indict Epstein on massive charges. A draft indictment was even written up, but then came the Non-Prosecution Agreement (NPA), the infamous sweetheart deal. The unsealed memos show internal DOJ debates where prosecutors were sidelined. This deal didn't just protect Epstein, it granted immunity to any potential co-conspirators. The files reveal that this clause was a massive hurdle for future investigations, effectively legalizing the silence of his associates for over a decade. It raises the ultimate question: who was the deal really designed to protect? Even Epstein's end is documented in these pages. The files include photos from the Metropolitan Correctional Center and logs from the night of his death in 2019. While the official ruling remains suicide, the files detail the negligence and misconduct of the jail staff, including a bizarre moment where staff used boxes and sheets to create a decoy body to distract the media while his actual remains were moved. Just 2 days before he died, Epstein signed a 32-page trust, moving his $600 million estate into a private entity. The files show he left millions to his personal lawyers and associates. Even in his final moments, he was moving the pieces on the board, ensuring his secrets and his wealth remain behind a veil of legal complexity. These files are more than just a list of names. They are a map of how power protects its own. As we close this chapter, we have to realize that transparency is only the first step. The names are out, the flight logs are public, and the Lolita Express is grounded. But the system that allowed Jeffrey Epstein to thrive for 30 years, the system of prestige networks and sweetheart deals, is still very much alive. Thank you for watching. If you found this breakdown insightful, please consider subscribing as we continue to track the ongoing legal fallout from these releases. For now, the files are open. The question is, what will we do with what we've learned?